Co-selling, right? It's time. There is nothing sexier than co-selling. I heard Sanjay say that in a tackle session earlier. This session, sponsored by PartnerStack, huge shout out to PartnerStack, is called Your Sales Team is Not in the Building. And this basic idea that if you want to succeed in the market today, you cannot rely entirely on people that work for you to sell. And I love this question. I harp on this all the time because I just think it's so brilliant that Bryn, I think he mentioned it in the opening on day one, that Bryn said was kind of the question that triggered the start of PartnerStack was, what if you had no sales team? Now, of course, I'm not advocating you get rid of your whole sales team unless you can get away with it. I mean, why not? But I just got some hate from that one. But that's a different question than what if you had no sales, or what if you had no one selling? It's what if you didn't have a sales team internally? It forces you to think of different ways to sell. And when you do, that opens up some things that even if you do have a sales team, why aren't you tapping into those? There's a global marketplace of people who probably have a closer relationship with your customer than you do. Instead of trying to wedge your way in and say, no, you should get closer to me. Why not use the people that are already close to them? Why not work with them? Why not co-sell? Okay, that sounds really easy and really sexy. Let's be honest. What the hell does that actually mean? What does that look like in practice? So I want to just start by asking, just to frame this up, how are sales teams doing these days? Christina, you probably work with more salespeople than anyone here. Alan, I know you work with a lot of sales teams as well, but how are they doing? What's the state of sales right now?
I mean, I think sales was kicked off into trying to evolve what they're doing. And then they keep hitting these points of having to evolve. So I think right now, salespeople are going back to being perpetual learners and going back to more of a lab-based environment. If I'm going to try things I haven't done before, I'm going to see how they work. I'm going to try new mediums for getting in front of my customers. But it's driven because it feels like there's a bit of a fire at our butts right now, right? Where it's like we have to hit the numbers. There's a lot of uncertainty. I don't know what's going on in the world. I have to hit my number. The company wants to grow and I have to do things differently. And these are all happening at the same time. And so there's a lot of different ways that people are viewing that. So I'm seeing a lot of excitement. I'm seeing a lot of anxiety. I'm seeing morale all over the place. And I'm seeing people more than ever want to focus on just honing in on the core foundational skills that they can rely on time in and time out. So that's what I'm seeing.
Love to see in the emojis, you mentioned you're seeing excitement and anxiety. So give some heart emojis if you are feeling excitement from sales teams today, and give some clap emojis if you're feeling anxiety from sales teams today. What's the predominant one? Hearts for excitement, claps for anxiety. I see a lot of anxiety in there. Okay. We got some excitement too. Alan, what about you?
I guess we've been blown out of the room by the wind of the clap. Yeah.
I don't know why we're clapping if we're anxious. Maybe we should be like, crying or something like that. But you know what? I think sales teams are living in a toxic environment. And that toxicity is produced by trying to turn them and customers into automated ATM machines. Essentially, like if a customer is an ATM machine, we got big trouble, right? And what we're trying to do is force our customers to transact with us before we relate to them. We're not in relationship with our customers. We're in transacting mode, which means what can I take from you? It's all extracting. It's all exploitative. So for sales to move from being extracting and exploitative, turning customers into automated ATM machines, we have to embrace the ecosystem because that's where the customer lives.
Holy cow, Alan. You just brought it. You started it right off. Salespeople are in a toxic environment. We're asking, okay, so we had marketing day yesterday, and it's a lot easier for marketing people to talk about, create value for your customers, build trust, give them things. You can do this through content and a lot of things. Are you asking salespeople to become marketing people? Like, how is a salesperson? So their job is to transact, isn't it? To close the deal. What are they supposed to do if not that? Do they become marketers?
I don't know. Nikita, what do you think?
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, so to your point, Alan, I think you're right. I think sales is very transactional. And I think like the values that salespeople bring when they really start understanding their customers tend to happen at the higher thresholds, right? So, if you look at a normal sales team, you have SMB, mid-market, and enterprise, right? You start seeing a lot of value being driven at the enterprise levels because those are tenured reps that, want to build trust and want to solve value for a lot of their customers. Candidly, we got to bring that all the way down, right? So it's how do we get a lot of those SMB customers? How do we get a lot of those mid-market customers? And how do we get salespeople thinking in terms of trust and value, right? So how do you not just sell a solution? How do you actually drive value for the customer, where that doesn't exist today in a certain situation? So
I'm thinking
that's
about. Oh, go
yeah.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm thinking about the economics here. So like, yeah, enterprise deal, you think of the value of that deal. Sure, you can spend 6 months going golfing with somebody and becoming friends with them before you try to sell them on anything. You go down market, the economics don't make sense. So maybe that's where the partner angle comes in. You got to find who's already golfing with that person, right? So what does it look like
100%.
for a salesperson to go prospecting, not for customers, but for partners of customers? I would love to hear like a walkthrough of like who's done that well. All three of you have probably interacted with companies that are doing that well. I'd love to hear, what are they doing? What's that process look like for salespeople?
Well, to start off with, salespeople's the job that a salesperson has to be done from his CRO and the investors is different from the job to be done with the customer. And that's part of the disconnect that creates the toxicity. Like what customers don't want to do is buy products. They want to buy whole solutions. What investors and the CROs want to do is to make your number. Well, there's a collision that happens because the very go-to-market motions that we're asked to deploy is to sell parts when we're supposed to be selling solutions. So we have to start with that disconnect in mind, and until our CROs and our investors recognize that adding value to customers is about selling ecosystematically, then we're constantly at odds. And the salespeople are like the poor guy in the middle. They're the disenfranchised member in the middle who's being told to do one thing from the left side, and then know that the right side's not going to be happy. And that's why you see, 53% of committed deals falling through. That's why you see, more than half of salespeople not hitting quota, because the direct system is broken. So we can talk about fixing it, but we have to first land the fact that the direct go-to-market model is toxic and broken because it is not giving customers what they want. And until we fix that problem, we're screwed. Got to give customers
Alan,
what they want.
at that point, do you think it's a value thing? Do you think it's customers are coming to a single solution and they're not finding all the value that they want? And so, is this where salespeople specifically like start bringing in partners to, to give them a bundled solution functionally?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Christina?
I think trust comes into play a lot here. And I think because buyers now have learned the behavior not to trust sellers. And a lot of the things they say they want of sellers is really to build the trust, because nobody wants to be sold. Nobody wants to have their objections or concerns demolished in the sake of making the sale. Nobody wants artificially created urgency during a buying process that's really important for them. And so I think salespeople automatically are trying to do things to earn that trust that also deteriorate trust even more. Things like that could be title manipulation, right? We're seeing account executives who are, strategic XYZs. And then you're calling them like, oh, you're a salesperson, right? It's like we're trying to hide from the fact that we are selling somebody something because we want to be seen as a valuable partner. But at the end of the day, salespeople internally at their company are motivated to sell you something. So we tell them, sell them something without making it look like you're selling them something and not making it feel like you're selling them something, but sell them something. And buyers feel that. And so this opportunity for a partner-led motion allows for some of that value and trust to come back in, because we're essentially taking a key piece of sales methodology, a strong third-party endorsement, and not having that as a small segment of your elevator pitch. Instead, it's the entire pitch. So we're taking that one piece that works to build trust, and we're making that the process, which doesn't remove the salesperson. It puts them in a different position.
Man, Christina, no, I got to hit on this, Alan, before I forget, because it like gave me chills. You made me think of something that I just had not thought of before, because of the tactics that have been used previously, and they run themselves out. The way buyers are like, they have like post-traumatic stress syndrome, right? So if you've never met the customer before, they have no reason to dislike you, but you're paying for the sins of salespeople past, right? You come into the relationship and you're already in the red. So first you have to just like get back to neutral, right? Before you go and try to do any selling. Like you're meeting someone who's wounded, right? They've been hurt by salespeople before, and just recognizing that which is why the partnerships play surrounding them with. What do you do in real life relationships if somebody has been hurt before and they don't trust you? You find people they do trust and you try to have them come and bring you into the situation, right? And it sounds dramatic, but there's something real to it.
Yeah. I mean, consider this. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oh, consider, I draw things to metaphors because remember, buyers are people. All of us have that experience of having to buy something in a way that we don't want to. So consider the last time you wanted to buy a piece of clothing. You go to the clothing store and you're there because you want to buy clothing. You are in the store and the sales associate comes twinkling over from across the store and they're like, "Can I help you find anything?" You're like, "No, go away. Leave me alone." Right? It's like, "No, get out of my face." But a customer standing there could go, "You know what? Those jeans, I bought those last week. Those are awesome." You're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you. I'll try them on." Right? I'm in the store. I want to buy. The poor salesperson whose job it is to sell you the clothes while you're in the store, we immediately are like, "Oh, no, don't need it. No thanks. Intrusive, no trust." The other customer, "Ooh, let's buy that." So
I call this the Lowe's experience. When I go to Lowe's and the quality of employees has tended to drop over the years. So somebody with a Lowe's badge that walks up, guaranteed they don't know anything about the pipes I'm trying to buy or whatever. But if I see someone that looks like a contractor, oh, I'm going to absolutely, right? Oh yeah, this guy's running a business. He does this all day. I'm doing it DIY. Let me ask him. I'm not going to ask the employee. I'm going to ask the guy who is a customer of that employee. And he's a frequent customer, more frequent than I am, more educated than I am.
Yeah. You know, it's
put,
fascinating.
Put fake customers in the store, Andre says.
It's amazing when we think about, there's a couple statistics that really, to my mind, like are the reason why PLX is so timely. The first one is that according to Sasquatch, 86% of all buyers want to start their buying journey with what? A salesperson. No. They want to start their buying journey with a referral from their ecosystem. That's the point you made, Christina, like someone pointing, "Oh, I bought those jeans." So if 86% of the buying population doesn't want to start with a cold sell, why are we cold selling? I mean, it's almost like you got to go to a CRO and say, "Do you know there's a reason why, your cost of customer acquisition is increased by 30%. There's a reason why 50% of committed deals aren't closing. There's a reason why every time you're told to grow, you have to add BDRs and AEs." All of which is dysfunctional. And it's because we're not meeting the customer where they want to be. The second thing I think that's critical is that sellers need to be givers more than takers, certainly not order takers, right? And by giving, I mean, it's exactly what you said, Isaac. You and Christina, you walk into an account and that account is attitudinally against you. So the only way you're going to get them on your side is to give them something they want, which is not your sales pitch. So
Yeah.
got to build trust by giving, and we got to build trust by going in with a referral. You do those two things and you're going to kill it.
100%, Alan. And so for example, at PartnerStack, we work a lot with agencies. And I think this all comes back to value. Like, who's working with the customer to drive value, right? A lot of customers today might have existing agencies that literally these customers have come to solve a problem, right? They're obviously trying to sell them on their services to help solve that problem, but at the end of the day, the value is being driven by these agencies are helping them solve that problem, right? And so these agencies for us, are really strong gateways into these customers, and they develop strong relationships over time, showing how they can solve those problems. The same thing goes for the general ecosystem, right? Is there a customer, for example, if one of your prospective customers is working with a tool that they trust today that solves an existing problem, they're more likely to hear them out to see how they can solve their next problem, right? And so how do you partner with whoever they're working with today, or someone that's effectively demonstrated that they can help them solve that problem, to figure out what the next problem that they're looking to solve is, right? So to your point, how do you provide value, but how does that value come from a place of existing trust, functionally?
So I'm curious, as I'm hearing how different this selling motion has to look from kind of the traditional idea of sales. Can you just go and train your existing sales team to do this? Or is there like a fundamentally different personality type or skill set? Like, are you bringing in a different type of person?
The
Well, I mean,
answer is maybe.
regardless of what type of purpose you have, there's really only one magic pill, magic bullet for all partner tips, and that's give referrals to your sales reps. mean, if you really think about it, right? Partner teams have been yakking at sales reps. Oh, please sell the partner solution. Please sell the partner solution. The sales reps, I don't want to. I'm not incentivized to do it. My CRO hasn't told me to do it, so I can't do it. And then partner people go, oh, I feel bad. There's an easy way out of this. Get referrals from your partners. When one of your partners is already in an account that your CRO is going after, and that partner has already built a better together story with you that concretizes in a partnership product that you can stand up, and that partner makes a referral to that partnership product, and you as the partner account manager walk into the sales rep and go, here's the referral. There's not a single sales rep in the universe, I don't care where they are, who's going to say, no, I'm not going to go after that warm, hot, 70% higher converting, 3 times bigger, twice as fast closing deal. Every sales rep goes after that. So really, that's the magic. That's the
Big time.
magic to unlocking sales.
And Alan, I also think part of it too is like create incentive structures for your existing sales reps to bring partners into the deal. So specifically, a lot of marketplaces today, just get people listed. For example, if we look at the Salesforce App Exchange, right, like Salesforce sales reps actually decrease from their quota whenever they involve a partner in their cycle, right? So I think there's a couple of different methods. One is obviously, send business to your sales reps. I think like that's where partner source revenue comes in big. But two, actually incentivize your salespeople monetarily for driving business to partners. Because I think if you don't have that second one, that incentive piece, yeah, you're going to drive business to salespeople, but they're always going to see you as a source of taking, basically, rather than giving. And I think when to give, you need to create the incentive structure that enables giving.
Christina, you said something in the chat. Can you learn to write with your left hand?
Yeah.
Expound on that.
Well, anytime we have to do something brand new, if all the parameters outside of that aren't comfortable, then people won't change. Humans won't change, adults won't change. So the question was raised, can we retrain sellers to sell in a different environment with a different end in mind and a different process? The answer is yes, we absolutely can. However, can you learn to write with your left hand? If by the time we say write today with your left hand, we expect the exact same result at the exact same time without the time that we need to adjust for the new muscle, for the new process, people won't do it because they say, well, right now I can't write as well with my left hand as my right hand. And if you're telling me you're measuring me the same way, I'm going to keep writing with my right hand because you're not making it comfortable for me to change. You're not giving me the runway to change. You're not allowing me to fail forward. You're holding me to the same standard, but telling me to change. And that's the other mistake that we make is changes like this don't happen overnight. And usually the process you have to put in place to make it comfortable for a new sales motion happens before you roll out the new sales motion. That has to do with command. That has to do with the velocity that you want your people to sell in. It has to do with how safe you're going to make it in terms of an MBO or guaranteed pay, comp plan, quota. All of those things have to be put in place. So you say, we're going to do something new. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're not going to hit the same result for a little while. But if we all take the time to sharpen the saw, we're going to cut the tree down a lot faster. So that's what we're going to do. Most companies don't do that second part.
So I'm curious, as I hear this, is the onus for getting a really effective co-selling process going, is the onus primarily on the partnerships team? Is the onus primarily on the sales team? Or is there maybe even an in-between? There's an operations or process question here of maybe both those teams are on board, but there's not really an easy way to work it in. Of those three, I don't know. What do you see being the biggest hang up at most companies?
Well, first and foremost, there's to use Malcolm Gladwell's tipping point analogy, CROs are not yet at the tipping point. There aren't enough CROs standing up and saying, oh my God, we have to be partner led all the way. We need to completely transform the $50 billion spent on sales and marketing in SaaS. That's a real number, $50 billion to be partner led instead of direct. So because we haven't hit the tipping point, the answer is that the partner teams have to lead the journey to get sales reps activated in the co-sell motion, period. Because if we don't do that, then we're not going to make it happen. You're not going to train sales reps fast enough. You're not going to get motions happening fast enough. And the best and fastest way to do that is to drop referrals from your partners into those sales reps. Simple as that. Now that's not easy to do, but it's doable. And at least a partner leader can take some ownership for that. And then once that happens, CRO tipping point's going to hit, and then the CROs will start to lead. And I guarantee you 12 months, 24 months from now, CROs are going to be looking at the partner teams going, how come you guys aren't running faster? How come you don't have more partners in the door? because they'll reach the tipping point. But we're not quite there yet. We're still at that pre-tipping point level, and that's why it's such heavy lifting.
Nikita,
Yeah,
you're like Isaac. This is a softball. Of course, I'm going to say,
No,
oh, all they need is partner stack, and then everything will be able to coordinate.
But what I can pitch partner stack all day, but I think like the biggest thing that I agree with Alan on is it's like it's very much right now an executive issue, right? Like a lot of CROs don't understand why partnerships, right? And so I agree, right? Like the partnerships team, unfortunately, right now has to take the burden of leading, has to take the burden of showing basically the results first, and then working with their executive teams to transform some of that strategy. And that's a big ask for a lot of partnership teams, right? But the reality is if you can start making that shift, it's an organizational shift that'll change the way that your company operates, right? Once CROs start to understand, like, hey, there's a lot of value here, right? Our average win rate is faster, like the deal sizes are bigger, right? They're coming in, at a much lower cost. It's going to be very hard for them to avoid. And specifically, like the two people that are going to really champion this, and if you can get championing this, are your CFO and your CRO, right? If it makes financial sense, and if your sales, you're winning more, there's no reason why any organization should say no. But to Alan's point, right? Like right now, I think the big issue is it's an executive issue. And unfortunately, partnerships teams need to kind of educate everybody on this path.
Yeah, the advice from I think it was a previous session, one of the sessions today. Show me you know me, show me you care. It doesn't only apply to customers, right? Like, show your sales team, you know them, you know what they care about, you care about what they care about. How do you? Who manages the relationship? So let's say you're co-selling. Is the partnerships person owning that, or is the salesperson that's working with them owning that? Like, how do you get turf wars? Like, what do you do to handle those kind of hey, I think it just feels, to me, it feels like a lot of cooks in the kitchen. So co-selling, I'm sure the payoff, right, is worth it, but there is a cost. There is a cost to getting more parties involved. How do you mitigate that?
Let's hear from Christina. What do you think, Christina?
I would say in so many instances, most companies start with a traditional go-to-market motion, and then they back into a partner-led motion, and then they try to amend the existing compensation plan and quota cutting and territories to fit the partner plan. And what that does is it just creates two people going after one plate. And so it's really difficult to evolve into a partner-led sale while keeping a traditional sale and just moving tiny parts, instead of saying we're going to build an entirely new motion that is highlighting partner-led sales, and we're going to create a world where everybody wins when they work together. And that's an all hands on deck thing. That's marketing, that's operations, that's finance, that's comp, that's quota, that's territories, that's rules of engagement, that's different even roles and responsibilities, right? The way I interact with my accounts might be very, very different. That's an enablement plan that goes along with it. But unfortunately, because we sort of sidestep our way into it, we're in sort of this half hybrid. It's partner, it's not partner. Does this belong to them? Why not? And we accidentally create, some infighting, which happens all too often.
So, Alan, I want to go back to something. I saw you in the chat on a session earlier, and they were talking about co-selling, and you said something to the effect of co-selling without co-X, which is co-everything else, right? I don't think you said it's dead or it won't work entirely, but more or less, you're going to have a really hard time. Expound on that a little bit. And like that makes me feel like that feels very like sad. Like, well, if I can't get everyone else involved in all the other things, co-innovation, co-marketing, then I'm just screwed. I feel helpless now. So give me the black pill and then give me the white pill.
Okay. Well, look at PLX. After we got done with startups, we hit product, then we hit marketing, then we hit selling. You did it in order. And the reason you have to do it in order in the days of SaaS, especially working with the all important tech partner category, which if you follow me, you know that I'm like really big on that. Not to say that agencies and SIs and MSPs and all those guys aren't important. They've been around a long time. But the new thing in SaaS the last 15 years is integrated solutions that give customers end-to-end outcomes. So the reason you can't co-sell without co-X is because, particularly with ISVs, if you haven't built a partnership product with them, vis-a-vis integrations, use cases, bill of materials, stories, reference accounts, then you've missed the most important magic elixir to unlocking the partner ecosystem motion. So you don't do co-X unless you've got something to sell. It's got to be sticky. If it's just some loose affiliation, the co-selling doesn't work because there's not enough, this expression in neurology of, neurons that wire together, fire together. ISVs that integrate together go to market together, right? And so it works biologically, it works ecosystematically, and it works in co-selling. But you sure as heck better have your CPO on board. Otherwise, you're going to be pounded sand.
That was very quotable, Alan. I love that. So I'm curious, Ed, because I did a session on a product day, or maybe it was startup day now, I'm forgetting, about product-led growth. So I'm curious, as companies that are, product-led growth is a big part of what they're doing. We know, or even companies that are selling a lot on marketplaces. Now we know that doesn't necessarily eliminate salespeople. A lot of the marketplace purchasers still want to have negotiations, customization, product-led growth as you start to move up into higher tiers, or you get into that. But how does that impact the nature of the co-selling? What does co-selling look like if you have a PLG sort of heavy strategy? Maybe Nikita could jump on this one.
No, I've been thinking about this one a lot. So I have a lot of thoughts on this one. So the company that I always think
like a minute and a half, so you're great.
I know. So I'll be super fast. But basically, the companies that I always think about that do this really well are like Atlassian, right? That have a huge partner-led motion, specific, and still have large PLG motions as well, right? So Atlassian, for example, equips a lot of people, especially at the lower SMB levels or even the mid-market levels to work with SIs and resellers today to give them a lot of the information that they need to bring them through the PLG motion, right? So I'd say, and this is super quick, enable your partners to provide value throughout the sales cycle, not just at the lead. And specifically with product-led growth, how do you start attaching partners to cycles? Even though your salespeople might not be involved, so that they can get involved with the actual sale. They can ensure that they're actually making use of the tool that's there, and they're actually maximizing, and they're going to be maximizing the use of the tool, and they're going to be retained. Because I think everything that we've seen over the last 5-10 years in SaaS has basically said that, like, if your customers aren't using your tool, you're just waiting for them to churn at some point in time. So,
all right. So we got 90 seconds. I'm going to throw a curve at everybody. None of you were prepared for this, but if you've ever seen, there's a show on ESPN. I can't remember what it's called, but everybody gives their take and then the host like votes. I'm not going to vote. I'm going to ask everybody watching to use your emojis. This is the soapbox session. You each get 30 seconds. This is your soapbox. You can say anything you want to send us off. So we're going to go Alan, Nikita, Christina in that order. Your 30-second soapbox. Everybody paying attention. Drop emojis as they're going, and we'll see. We're not going to have any official tally, but we'll just go off of feels. So, Alan, are you ready to have the soapbox is yours?
All right, 30 seconds. Give me the time up sign when I'm done.
Okay, all right, got it.
Co-selling is really hard if you don't go in the right order. Trying to co-sell 2-3 companies, none of whom have a partner account in that customer, is broken. If you want to get co-selling right, you start out with places where your partner already lives, and you drop in referrals to your sales teams to go close that business, and that lights up co-selling, and that's how partnership teams are going to win in 2023.
Oh, you came in under the wire with like 2 seconds left. Nikita.
I'll be super quick. I agree with Alan. Co-selling is tough. Create the structure and the incentives for your sellers and your partners to work better together. So whether that's the partners sending business to your sellers being incentivized on the business that they send back to partners, and involve your partners at all different stages of the sales cycle and just the customer cycle. So you as a company can win better.
Love it. Christina, you get to take it home.
Last thing I'll say, I'll keep it more cerebral, is always make sure that your measurements match the motion. Measure the right thing, measure the right behavior. And to quote Einstein, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will spend its entire life thinking that it is stupid. So don't do that to your people.
Woo! Can't think of a better way to end it. Thank you so much, all of you.
Vote for Christina.
Yeah, everybody drop those emoji bombs in there, and we will see you all at the next session.
Thanks, Isaac.
Thanks, everybody.
Now there's the awkward part where we still haven't been removed from stage, but that's okay.
Should we just leave?
You can leave if you want. You can leave. If you
Should
want
we
to.
just get out of here?
The stage manager will pull us off any second, but you can go ahead.
I'm still thinking about the dumb fish thing.
Right.
Oh, that's
just
a
stays
classic.
with
That was a really good. Yeah, I love that quote. Yeah.
Stays with me. Well, I'm going to go hop into another panel. So
go do your thing.
Thank you guys. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
Thanks,
you.
guys.
See you, Nikita.
We're going to get the award for longest session that didn't end when it was supposed to.
Oh, did we go over?
There we go.
Well,
they just forgot